So lads, this is not a great look for the Indiana Fever organization. If you've got Caitlin Clark, the star of the Indiana Fever, she's going and seeing whatever about not seeing the Indiana Fever's doctors. Like, it is what it is with that. It is what it is. Like, I think a lot of players and teams get second opinions. But if you haven't seen here, Stephanie White says there's no update on Caitlin Clark or potential timeline. She met with another doctor, but White says she hasn't spoken with the trainer.
The basketball icon credited with revitalizing the sport in Indiana has just sent one of the most powerful statements in WNBA history, all without uttering a word. Caitlin Clark, a leading figure in women's basketball and a star who draws crowds comparable to major music events, is said to have stopped talking to the Indiana Fever's medical team following a recent groin injury.
Pretty much kind of leaked out the bag to the team that she was kind of going to get a second opinion. To me, an athlete like Caitlin Clark on her level, she should have been getting these second opinions. She should have been hearing from all these other doctors, man. But Stephanie White spoke to the media yesterday. She really didn't give a whole lot, but she did say that Caitlin Clark was in New York meeting with other doctors. Now, with all of that being said, what does the timetable look like to me for Caitlin Clark coming back? I keep telling y'all, around the 17th to the 30th of August.
Honestly, it's overdue that someone spoke up about how this organization has been handling their once-in-a-generation star like just another supporting player. Here's an inside look at what's really going on behind the scenes at Gainbridge Fieldhouse and why Caitlin Clark could be considering leaving Indiana much earlier than anyone thought.
She has met with a different doctor. And she won't even give an update to the team. Not, oh yeah, you know, she's met with a different doctor and we're waiting on an update. She's waiting, or not even, well, that's basically it. They're waiting on, oh, she's gone to a different doctor and they've heard nothing.
If you're enjoying this, don't forget to subscribe. On July 15th, during the game against the Connecticut Sun, Caitlin Clark left the court limping, clearly upset as she held her right groin. This wasn't just another injury. It marked a tipping point, described by insiders as a situation similar to Kawhi Leonard's, where a top player completely loses trust in their team's medical personnel.
News: Caitlin Clark. Following a July 15th injury to her right groin, Indiana Fever guard Caitlin Clark underwent further medical evaluations earlier this week. The team can confirm that no additional injuries or damage were discovered through the evaluations. Clark will continue working with the Fever medical team on her recovery and rehabilitation, with the priority on her long-term health and well-being. There is no timetable available for Clark's return, and no additional details will be provided at this time. Any further updates will be shared as they become available.
Clark has dealt with 4 distinct muscle injuries this season alone: a left groin strain, a left quadriceps issue, and most recently, a right groin strain. Considering she never missed a game due to injury during her college days at Iowa or her rookie year in the WNBA, this string of setbacks isn't just unfortunate. It points to a clear pattern of questionable medical handling.
But the internet noticed something specific that Holly Rowe had to say on the broadcast. Holly Rowe said that before the last return after a quad injury, she had no practice time, which, if that's actually true, like if she wasn't practicing, if she wasn't going full speed, then why was she returning to the court? And that's actually something that I pointed out. I believe it was Scott Agnes reported that Caitlin had gone full speed in practice, but there was only one practice that she had gone full speed, and then she returned to play.
The situation reached a critical point when Clark was hurried back from her earlier groin injury, only to aggravate it again just a few games after returning. Insiders reveal that Clark informed team officials, "I'm seeking care from my own doctors. I'm done relying on the team's medical staff." She has since consulted with independent physicians and is no longer sharing her health updates with the team's trainers.
Caitlin Clark's team has made it known, we are going to be holding her out until she is fully recovered. We are not going to be rushing her back at all. After taking Indiana Fever's advice, eventually Caitlin Clark needs to take matters into her own hands, make decisions for herself, and I believe that's what we are seeing with the team that she now has surrounding her.
Let's break down the facts the Indiana Fever might prefer to keep under wraps. Clark's injury history this season reads like a string of medical setbacks. On May 3rd, she was sidelined by soreness in her left leg, causing her to miss the exhibition opener. By May 26th, she missed her first career game due to a left quadricep strain. In June, a left groin injury kept her out for 5 games. Then, on July 15th, she sustained a right groin injury in the closing moments against the Connecticut Sun. Most recently, on July 24th, the Fever announced there's no set timeline for her return, offering no further updates. Altogether, Clark has missed 11 regular season games plus the Commissioner's Cup final, almost half the season, due to recurring soft tissue injuries that, with proper conditioning and medical attention, could likely have been avoided.
The people were speculating that Caitlin Clark injury could be much worse than expected. You know, these type of injuries and the way she's been getting these injuries is not normal. To have these strains back to back to back like this, and I said this before, Caitlin Clark mobility is off, bro. I believe she might have came back too fast from the first. We all know the first one went down around the 25th of May. Then she came back and got re-injured around the 4th of July to the 5th, somewhere up in there of July. And then that brings us until now.
But here's where things become even more revealing. Clark went to New York for second medical opinions without updating the Fever's medical team on what she learned. Coach Stephanie White even admitted she hadn't spoken with the trainers about the findings from Clark's outside doctors. When your top player starts making independent medical decisions like this, it signals more than just an injury. It points to a complete breakdown of trust. When Stephanie White was hired, fans hoped for an upgrade from Christy Sides. White brought impressive credentials: 2023 WNBA Coach of the Year, a championship ring with the Fever as a player, and a deep understanding of winning. But what unfolded instead is a coach who seems focused on fixing issues that may not actually need fixing.
The only good news about today is Caitlin Clark is no longer dealing with Stephanie White and these coaches and this Indiana Fever medical staff, trainers, doctors, none of that. She's seeing her own medical doctors, her own team. That's the only good news of today. She has abandoned the Indiana Fever medical staff, and I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it. She's pulling a Kawhi Leonard, what he did with the San Antonio Spurs, letting it be known, hey, look, I'll get back to y'all when I'm ready. I'm going with my own medical staff. Y'all can beat it, kick rocks, and I stand with you, Caitlin Clark.
Here's the uncomfortable truth that few are willing to admit. Christy Sides knew how to get the best out of Caitlin Clark. While Sides had her flaws as a coach, she grasped one crucial idea. When you have a generational talent, you build your team around her, not try to fit her into a rigid system. Sides let Clark be herself. She handed her the ball, let her control the offense at her own pace, and the results spoke for themselves. Clark's rookie season shattered multiple WNBA records. The team reached the playoffs for the first time since 2016, and arenas were packed wherever they played. In contrast, White's recent remarks about wanting Clark to play off the ball and share ball handling duties reveal a fundamental misunderstanding of what makes Clark exceptional. You don't take the ball away from Magic Johnson just because he's being pressured. You don't bench Michael Jordan because he's getting double-teamed. And you certainly don't try to turn Caitlin Clark into a role player simply because your system can't handle greatness.
The problem of this team is Stephanie White. It's Stephanie White. It's not Caitlin Clark. A great player don't all suddenly sucks. That doesn't happen. It's strategic. And everybody saying that they played better without Caitlin Clark. No. Actually, even this loss, Caitlin Clark gives them a better chance. They're under 500 without Caitlin Clark.
Perhaps the clearest sign of Clark's frustration came after the Fever's loss to the New York Liberty on July 22nd. Photos emerged showing Clark and her agent in what looked like a private meeting with Liberty coach Sandy Brondello and stars Brianna Stewart and Sabrina Ionescu in the tunnel at Barclays Center. This wasn't just a casual post-game chat, especially with an agent involved and another team's coaching staff and star players present. This was a serious discussion about Clark's future. The message was unmistakable. While the Fever struggled to properly support their superstar, the Liberty were already making their case for when Clark might be available. Multiple insiders confirm that Clark has effectively dismissed the Fever's medical staff, choosing instead to rely on her own doctors. She's consulting specialists in New York and declining to update the team's trainers on her condition. This kind of medical independence is rare in women's basketball and closely resembles the situation surrounding Kawhi Leonard's exit from San Antonio. Experts suggest that Clark's repeated groin and quadriceps injuries point to either flawed conditioning routines or insufficient rehab.
But this is how it starts in sports. This is how it starts in the NFL. This is how it starts in the NBA. When you start seeing the wheels in motion, there's signs. There's signs before eventually a player gets traded. A player eventually marks their next destination. The Indiana Fever, you're on notice. You're on notice. You better recognize what you've got going on, the asset in front of you, and you do whatever you have to do to correct what is happening.
The fact that Clark continues to suffer the same types of injuries suggests the underlying problem has never been fully resolved. When Michael Jordan's legendary trainer raised concerns about groin injuries in elite athletes, it ignited conversations about whether Clark's medical team truly understands the unique demands of her playing style. Experts widely agree. The Fever's handling of Clark's conditioning and injury prevention has been far from professional. Now, let's consider what Clark's absence really means for the team. With her on the court, the Fever transform into a completely different squad. These swings in performance aren't just normal ups and downs. They're the direct result of rushing Clark back from injuries and forcing her into a system that doesn't play to her strengths. Without Clark, the Fever are struggling with a 4-6 record this season, including recent games where they've shown potential but haven't looked like true championship contenders. Ultimately, the difference between making the playoffs and competing for a title comes down to whether the Fever can keep their star player both healthy and satisfied.
Out there. Why Caitlin Clark was injured is a real thing. It's not just because she's a good player and people go hard against her, in my opinion. There's some other stuff going on there. A lot of pressure to put people in seats, to put eyeballs on the game. You come back a little early. Teams, as they should, play hard against her. Some teams go over the line and refs seem to look the other way, in my opinion. You had some of that going on with some other talent in the league as well last year. But this is different. And Stephanie White needs some blame as well. The team seems a little rudderless.
Here's a hard truth that many Fever fans might not want to accept. Caitlin Clark doesn't owe Indiana anything. She's already brought packed arenas, boosted national TV ratings, led the team to the playoffs, and generated millions in revenue. So, what has the organization given her in return? A series of injuries, unstable coaching, and a medical staff she no longer trusts. The Fever have shown they don't know how to build around a true superstar. Instead of maximizing Clark's impact, they hired a coach who seems intent on limiting it. Clark should be the heart of the system, not just one piece of the puzzle. She needs the ball in her hands most of the time she's on the court, with the offense moving at the pace she sets. Every teammate should be selected for how well they enhance her strengths, but instead, White is forcing Clark to fit into her own basketball blueprint, and the results make that clear.
Remember Peyton Manning when he called his own plays? He said, Tony Dungy, you run the defense, I run the offense. That's what exactly needs to happen in Indianapolis. Caitlin Clark is literally Peyton Manning. She should be calling the plays. She should run the offense. And Stephanie White call the defense.
The most frustrating aspect of all this is that Clark is currently in the prime of her career. At just 23, she's at peak athletic performance and has already shown she can dominate at the professional level. These should be the years when Indiana builds a championship team around her, not struggles with basic medical management and coaching strategies. Every game Clark misses brings her closer to leaving. That's why other teams are already preparing for the moment she becomes available. They have championship-level talent, capable coaches, and organizations skilled at nurturing star players. Most importantly, they won't waste Clark's prime years trying to mold her into something she isn't.
There is a WNBA team that have been very, very, very much in, like, they made it clear that they want Caitlin Clark, or they're eventually going to want Caitlin Clark. Along those lines, they made it very, very clear. And that team is the New York Liberty. I think there is a 50-50 chance Caitlin Clark leaves Indiana after her rookie season. No, after rookie season, after rookie contract is up. Because
Clark's decision to cut off communication with the Fever's medical team goes beyond just her latest injury. It reflects a deeper pattern of frustration that began when she was rushed back from earlier injuries and continues with a coaching staff that hasn't figured out how to fully utilize her talents. When a player of Clark's caliber loses trust in the very basics of their organization, keeping them healthy and setting them up to succeed, it's more than a temporary issue. The Fever have become so focused on their systems and routines that they've overlooked the most important rule in professional sports. When you have a once-in-a-generation talent, you do everything possible to keep her happy and healthy.
Quote, "This is the first time I haven't felt like a young body that can run around and sprint every day and just continue to do that," Clark said in an event during All-Star Weekend per Glamour. Being a professional athlete, you really have to take care of both your body and your mind. It's been a journey learning about that.
Clark's body language reveals what her words don't. After her latest injury, she was visibly emotional, hiding her face with a towel and clearly frustrated. She's seeking medical advice without involving the team staff and holding private meetings with other organizations. These aren't the actions of a player fully committed to her current team long-term. Meanwhile, Coach White continues to insist on having Clark play off the ball in her system, and the medical staff keeps losing the trust of their star with every setback. Clark shouldn't have to risk her health trusting a medical team, she doubts. She shouldn't have to carry an organization that fails to value her contributions. Indiana faces a clear choice: build around Caitlin Clark properly or risk losing the greatest talent the franchise has ever seen. Right now, everything they're doing seems to be pushing her away. The clock is ticking, and Caitlin Clark's patience has officially run out.